12 Hollywood stars destroyed by obsessions that ended in stabbings, lobotomies, and abandoned final scenes. And by the end of this video, you'll realize the terrifying truth. You're feeding the same obsessions right now. And every comment you make, every photo you click, keeps the curse alive. But before we reveal which obsession was the most devastating, you need to understand. One of these stars knew exactly what was happening to them. They documented it. They left warnings, and Hollywood buried every word. Marilyn Monroe, the transformation that changed everything. But August 4th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe takes her last breath at 36 years old in her Brentwood home at 12305 5th Helena Drive. Her hand is still reaching for the telephone. She never made the call. She was in a silk nightgown, cream-colored, the one her makeup artist said she loved because it made her feel like herself, not Marilyn Monroe. Hollywood expects the usual pattern: grief, tributes, then the world moves on. That's what always happens when a star passes. But something unprecedented occurs with Marilyn. Her fame doesn't fade, it explodes. Life magazine's Marilyn Memorial issue sells out in 4 hours and requires 3 emergency print runs. Some Like It Hot, released 3 years earlier, is re-released and becomes the highest-grossing film of 1962, beating Everything New. Items she'd owned suddenly sell for thousands at auction. Her grave at Westwood Village Memorial Park became the most visited burial site in Hollywood. This is new. This is different. And Hollywood is paying attention. Studios, agents, and publicists begin to notice something disturbing. Marilyn Monroe is worth more gone than she'd ever been alive. She can't age out of roles, gain weight, say no to demeaning parts, or demand more money. She'd been asking for $75,000 per picture. Now her image licensing brings in millions annually, and she doesn't get a penny. She can't have new scandals. The old ones just become tragic instead of shameful. She's frozen at 36 forever. Perfect, tragic, controllable, and profitable. This is the Marilyn Monroe curse. The moment Hollywood realizes a star is more valuable gone than alive. But what does that really mean? You're about to see it play out 11 more times. You'll also understand why some of these stars may have been helped toward their ends. The extreme behaviors start almost immediately. Men begin purchasing crypts near Marilyn's. One man buys the space directly above her vault so he can be face down on Marilyn forever. He pays $50,000, more than most houses cost in 1962. Hugh Hefner purchases the spot directly next to her for $75,000. He tells reporters, spending eternity next to Marilyn is too sweet to pass up. She never consented. She was gone. Collectors begin paying extraordinary sums for anything she'd touched. The white dress from the 7-year itch will eventually sell for $4.6 million. The buyer remains anonymous. The dress is locked in a climate-controlled vault. No one has seen it since. Her gravesite becomes a pilgrimage site. Security removes an average of 40 people per night who refuse to leave. They leave lipstick kisses until authorities have to clean the marble weekly. The lipstick stains have actually begun to damage the marble. Some bring champagne, others leave pills, the same pills that ended her life, as if offering them back to her. And then there are the copycat attempts. On the anniversary of her passing, hospitals report spikes in overdose cases. Young blonde women, specifically. In 1963, the first anniversary, there were 17 attempts, 12 in Los Angeles alone. Marilyn couldn't escape Joe DiMaggio's obsession when she was alive. He'd had her followed, controlled her career decisions. He hired private investigators who filed weekly reports on her activities, her visitors, her phone calls. After she passed, he had roses delivered to her grave 3 times a week for 20 years. The florist kept the order on file until 1982. And in her absence, she can't escape ours. We've made her into whatever we need her to be. A victim, a seductress, a feminist icon, a cautionary tale. Marilyn's curse showed Hollywood that loss was profitable. But the pattern had started earlier, much earlier. And the victims were even younger. But Marilyn wasn't the first person Hollywood learned they could profit from in absence. The blueprint was drawn 7 years earlier with a young rebel, and the obsession had been perfected even before that, on children. Bobby Driscoll, the child star Hollywood threw away. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer isn't the only studio that learned how to profit from children. Disney discovered the formula too, but their version of the curse was even crueler. 1943, Walt Disney signs 5-year-old Bobby Driscoll after seeing him in a barbershop. Bobby has an angelic face, perfect for Disney's wholesome image. Within a year, he starred in Song of the South. By age 12, he won a Special Academy Award, the youngest actor ever to receive an Oscar. Walt Disney himself hands him the statuette. Bobby is beaming. He has no idea this is his peak. He'll be discarded before he's old enough to drive. But Disney has a vision for Bobby. He wants him working constantly. Films, publicity tours, personal appearances. They hand him his childhood on a silver platter, then take it away the moment it stops being profitable. Bobby is making Disney millions. He's the voice of Peter Pan. He's America's favorite child star. He's perfect. Then puberty arrives. By 14, Bobby's face is changing. He develops severe acne. The cameras can't hide it anymore. The perfect boy isn't perfect. Disney doesn't renew his contract. No explanation, no transition plan, no support. One day he's a star. The next day the studio won't return his agent's calls. His agent later testified he called Disney 17 times. The secretary kept saying, "Mr. Disney is unavailable." On the 18th call, she finally said, "Stop calling. He's not coming back." Disney's obsession was never with Bobby. It was with what Bobby represented, childhood innocence they could package and sell. When Bobby stopped being a child, he stopped being useful. Bobby tries to continue acting, but he's typecast as a child star in an adult's body. Casting directors literally tell him, "You're not a cute kid anymore. We can't use you." He's 16 years old, and Hollywood has already decided he's worthless. The rejection destroys him. He starts using substances to cope. By 17, he's dependent. By 19, he's been arrested multiple times. He can't get work. He can't escape the shadow of the child he used to be. People see him and say, "Weren't you that Disney kid? What happened to you?" What happened was the industry's obsession with childhood perfection. Disney wanted eternal youth, a boy who would never grow up, just like Peter Pan. When Bobby grew up anyway, they discarded him like a broken toy. Bobby Driscoll passed on March 30th, 1968. He's 31 years old. 2 children playing in an abandoned tenement building in New York's East Village find his body. He's been gone for weeks. No identification. No one knows who he is. He's buried in a pauper's grave on Hart Island. The children who found Bobby's body thought he was a homeless man. They ran to get help. When police arrived, they found something that would haunt the responding officers. Bobby was still wearing a tarnished ring. Engraved inside, Walt Disney Productions, Song of the South, 1946. 7 years old forever. On a piece of metal nobody bothered to steal. A year and a half later, his mother files a missing persons report. She hasn't heard from him. The fingerprints finally identify the body. Disney's Oscar-winning child star passed alone, unknown, and was buried in an unmarked grave with the city's unwanted. The coroner's report shows years of substance misuse. His body is so deteriorated, they initially estimate his age at 50. He's 31. Disney's obsession with childhood perfection had taken a 5-year-old and ground him up, used him until he aged out of usefulness, then threw him away. And Disney learned they could get away with it. No investigations, no accountability, just move on to the next perfect child. Bobby's Oscar is still displayed at Disney headquarters. They never acknowledged his passing, never sent condolences to his family, never mentioned that their youngest Oscar winner passed in poverty and anonymity. Disney's obsession with eternal childhood had literally consumed the child. If these hidden Hollywood truths are shocking you, subscribe now to what we're about to reveal gets even darker. Jean Harlow, when image mattered more than life. A decade before Judy, MGM had already been perfecting the art of control. The victim was Jean Harlow, the original platinum blonde. On the set of Saratoga in 1937, something is very wrong. Jean Harlow is 26 years old and at peak fame, MGM's hottest property, starring opposite Clark Gable. But she's in visible pain. Her ankles are swollen to twice their normal size. Her face is puffy. Her skin has a grayish-yellow tint. She collapses twice in one day. She tells people she feels like she's passing. She is. Her kidneys are failing. Jean begs Louis B. Mayer to let her see doctors, to let her take time off. She had testimony recorded by her attorneys documenting the pain and Mayer's response. The recording still exists. You can hear her voice breaking as she describes the agony. He refuses, because Saratoga is behind schedule. Specifically, it would cost $150,000 in penalties to the theater chains waiting for the film. Notice the pattern? Studios choose profit over life. They did it to Jean in 1937. They'd perfect this system over the next decades, using it star after star. The system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed. But Jean isn't just trapped by MGM. She's caught between two obsessions. Her mother, Lillian, is a devout Christian Scientist who refuses medical treatment on religious grounds. Lillian literally will not allow doctors to examine her daughter. When Jean begs her mother to call a doctor, Lillian reads her scripture instead. So Jean is passing, trapped between her mother's religious obsession and her studio's profit obsession. And no one will help her. MGM's control over Jean had been absolute for years. They dictated her hair color, insisting on bleaching it so pale that it damaged her scalp. One stylist kept some of the broken hair. Under a microscope, it looked burned. They controlled her weight through starvation diets. Her contract specified she couldn't weigh more than 110 pounds. She was 5 feet 2. On set during Saratoga, as Jean's condition worsens, a crew member threatens to call an ambulance. MGM shuts it down. They don't call a doctor, they film around her. A script supervisor kept notes from those final days. June 2nd, Miss Harlow vomited between takes. Mr. Mayer ordered lunch break extended 15 minutes. June 5th, Miss Harlow collapsed during scene 47, used body double for the remainder of the day. Mr. Mayer approved. The notes are clinical, detached. A woman is passing, and they're documenting it like weather reports. A lighting technician who worked those final days kept a diary. June 6th entry. Jean looks like a ghost. Her eyes are yellow. I told my wife tonight, I think they're ending it. He never spoke up on set. Days pass. Jean can barely stand. She faints during a close-up. Clark Gable catches her. The cameras keep rolling. They use body doubles for wide shots. Jean's friends beg Mayer to shut down production. He refuses. We're 90% done, he tells them. We can't waste that investment. Her mother continues to pray. Lillian brings practitioners from her Christian Science church to Jean's bedside. They pray while Jean vomits blood. June 7th, 1937. Jean Harlow takes her last breath. She's 26 years old. The autopsy reveals kidney failure, uremic poisoning. The medical examiner writes, treatment with sulfa medication and bed rest, initiated 2 to 3 weeks prior, would likely have resulted in full recovery. MGM's first official response, a memo about how to complete Saratoga using body doubles. The memo is dated June 7th, the same day she passed. It was written 4 hours after her passing. The film is released 6 weeks later. It became her highest-grossing movie. Theaters advertise it as Jean Harlow's last performance. See the film that cost her life. The studio made $3.2 million on a film that cost a woman's life. They called it their most successful production of the year. What MGM did to Jean wasn't an accident. What they do to Judy would be systematic. Jean passed, trapped between two obsessions, but Lana Turner would learn that one obsession was enough to end a life. Lana Turner, the gangster who wouldn't let go. Lana Turner is one of Hollywood's biggest stars in 1958. But her personal life is spiraling into terror. She's dating Johnny Stompanato, a mobster who works as an enforcer for Mickey Cohen. By the time Lana realizes what he is, it's too late. She tries to break up with him. He refuses to accept it. Phone records show he called her 83 times in a single week after she tried to end it. Johnny follows Lana to film locations. When she's shooting another place in London, he shows up uninvited. He somehow obtained her flight information, her hotel, her shooting schedule. Her co-star, Sean Connery, has to physically remove him from the set. Johnny pulls a weapon. Connery disarms him. Connery later says, "I thought he was going to harm her right there." His hand was shaking with rage. Back in Los Angeles, Johnny's obsession intensifies. He has a key made somehow. She comes home and finds him sitting in her living room. According to testimony, he physically harms her. Lana starts wearing long sleeves and high collars. One makeup artist keeps a log with dates and photographs. She's building evidence. April 2nd, bruise on left rib cage, size of a fist. April 3rd, split lip, concealed with nude lipstick. The makeup artist numbered each photo. 27 in total, but Lana is trapped. Johnny has mob connections. This is 1950s Hollywood. Domestic violence isn't taken seriously, especially when organized crime is involved. Good Friday, April 4th, 1958. Johnny comes to Lana's home in Beverly Hills. They argue loudly. One neighbor says she heard glass breaking. Another heard a woman screaming, "Get out!" From the hallway, Lana's 14-year-old daughter Cheryl hears her mother scream. She hears Johnny's voice. "I'll cut you. I'll stomp you. I'll destroy you. And then, I'll destroy your face so no one will ever want to look at you again." Cheryl runs to the kitchen and grabs a knife. It's a 9-inch carving knife. Her hands are shaking so badly, she almost drops it. Cheryl runs upstairs. She sees Johnny with his hands on her mother. His hands are around Lana's throat. Lana's face is turning red. According to her testimony, she strikes him once with the blade. He staggers backward. He looks down at his stomach. Blood is spreading across his white shirt. He says, "My God, Cheryl, what have you done?" The knife has pierced his aorta. Johnny Stompanato passes in 11 minutes. Cheryl sits on the stairs, still holding the knife. She doesn't cry. She doesn't speak. She just sits there, blood on her hands, waiting for the police. When police arrive 23 minutes later, they find Lana on the phone with her lawyer. Cheryl hasn't moved. The carpet beneath Johnny's body is soaked dark red. Investigators would later measure it at 4 feet in diameter. The coroner's report notes Cheryl's fingerprints on the knife handle were smudged, as if the knife had been wiped and re-gripped. No one asks why. The coroner's inquest ruled it a justifiable defense, but questions linger. The knife had been wiped clean before police arrived. Only Cheryl's prints were on it. Convenient. The truth, it doesn't matter. Johnny Stompanato's obsession with possessing Lana, his absolute refusal to accept no, ended in his own demise. Lana escaped through violence. The Marilyn Monroe curse had taught Hollywood that beauty attracts obsession, but it never taught them how to survive it. It never mentioned that sometimes survival requires blood. Montgomery Clift, the perfectionist who couldn't stop. Not all obsessions were devastating from the start. Some began as artistic perfectionism. Some stars didn't need outside obsession to destroy them. They carried the curse inside themselves. Montgomery Clift is the most intense method actor of the 1950s, obsessed with truth in every performance. Monty refuses pain medication during physically demanding scenes. For the boxing scenes in From Here to Eternity, he demands real punches. By the end of filming, he has 3 cracked ribs. They shot the beach scene 17 times. Monty insists on doing it again. His closest friend, Elizabeth Taylor, warns him repeatedly, "You're going to end your own life for a take." She tells her husband, "Monty's going to harm himself. I don't know how to stop him." May 12th, 1956. Monty is driving home from Elizabeth Taylor's party. He's intoxicated and has taken pills. He crashes his car into a telephone pole. The crash happens because Monty can't turn off his character, even off-set. He's been inhabiting a soldier experiencing combat trauma for Raintree County. He's been sleeping in his character's wardrobe. He hasn't broken character in 6 weeks. The impact is devastating. The steering wheel is embedded in the dashboard. The windshield has a perfect imprint of Monty's face in it, spider-webbed with cracks. His jaw is shattered. His nose is crushed. Multiple teeth are broken. Elizabeth Taylor hears the crash. She runs down the hill, screaming for help. When she reaches the car, Monty is unconscious and suffocating. 2 of his teeth have fallen backward into his throat, blocking his airway. Without hesitation, Elizabeth crawls into the wreckage. She cuts her hands on the broken glass. Her dress tears. She's sobbing as she reaches for him. She reaches into Monty's throat with her fingers and pulls out the teeth. She holds the teeth in her palm. 2 perfect white teeth, blood-covered. She'll keep them for the rest of her life. Years later, Elizabeth told a reporter, "I kept them in a velvet box in my drawer. Sometimes I'd take them out and cry. I saved his life that night, but I couldn't save him from himself." The next day, the studio sent a memo to the insurance company. Subject line: Clift, facial damage, contractual implications. They were calculating his value before he regained consciousness, but his obsession has already destroyed his mind. Monty survives, but his face is destroyed. The asymmetry is permanent. Photographers from that point on can only shoot him from his good side. His contracts specify right side only. After the accident, his obsession worsens. He drinks more, take more pills. His last film, The Defector, has to be shot entirely in shadows to hide his deteriorating appearance. He passed away at 1966 at 45 years old. He's lying on his bed, fully clothed. An empty pill bottle is on the nightstand. The television is still on. His organs are destroyed by years of substance misuse. His body resembles someone 70 years old. Between 1950 and 1970, the average Hollywood star's life expectancy was 58 years old. The national average? 70. 12 years stolen by the industry they made rich. Monty passed at 45, 13 years below even Hollywood's dangerous average. The obsession, whether it came from studios, fans, or from within, was ending them faster than war, faster than disease, faster than anything else in American life. Rita Hayworth, the director who tried to erase her self-obsession, wasn't the only danger. Sometimes the obsession comes from the person you married. And sometimes the most violent erasure happened without a single blow. The love goddess marries the genius. 1947. Rita Hayworth is the most recognizable woman in the world thanks to Gilda and that famous hair. During World War II, her image was painted on the Hiroshima bomb. More people have seen her face than any woman in human history. She marries Orson Welles, the genius director of Citizen Kane. He's jealous of her fame. The magnificent Ambersons lost money. The stranger barely broke even. He's no longer the wunderkind. And his wife is more famous than he'll ever be. He becomes focused on transforming Rita from pinup to serious actress. For the lady from Shanghai, he tells Rita she needs to cut her hair and bleach it platinum blonde. Cut it off and destroy the auburn color that made her famous. Rita objects. Women copy her hairstyle. Hairdressers call it the Rita. It's insured for $50,000. Rita eventually agrees, desperate to prove she can be a serious actress. The studio has warned her, "You cut that hair, we're not responsible for what happens." The cameras roll as a hairstylist cuts Rita's famous auburn waves. Each cut of the scissors is captured on film. Rita's hands are clenched in her lap. Her jaw is tight. Rita cries during the process. Welles keeps filming. Later, he'll say it's his favorite shot in the film. "She's never been more real," he tells reporters. The hairstylist who cut it said she asked to keep one lock, just one piece. Rita whispered, "So I can remember who I was?" Welles said no. He wanted a complete transformation. The hair was swept up and thrown away. But the hair is just a visible symbol. Wells is controlling about Rita's appearance, her career choices, whom she sees socially. He reads her mail, he screens her phone calls, he tells her what to wear to parties. It backfires completely. Audiences reject the new Rita. The Lady from Shanghai is a box office failure. It loses $450,000. One critic writes, "Where is Rita Hayworth? All I see is a blonde stranger Orson Welles created." They divorce in 1948. Rita never fully recovers her confidence. Her last major film is Separate Tables in 1958. 10 years after The Lady from Shanghai, she'll spend the next 2 decades doing television and low-budget films. Years later, in one of her final interviews, Rita says something haunting. "Men went to bed with Gilda. They woke up with me. They were disappointed." She'd spent her whole life being punished for not being someone else's fantasy. The complex truth: it was 2 people's obsessions colliding. Wells's obsession with control, Rita's obsession with validation. Both destroyed what made her famous. Neither got what they wanted. Rita lost her identity trying to escape being a symbol. Another young rebel would lose his identity when his fans refused to let him be anything but a symbol, even after passing. And his fans would prove that the Marilyn Monroe curse didn't wait for Marilyn. It was already growing. James Dean, when fans refused to accept loss. September 30th, 1955. 3:35 p.m. Pacific Time. James Dean's Porsche Spyder, nicknamed Little Bastard, crashes at high speed. The Porsche is traveling at 85 miles per hour when it hits a 1950 Ford Tudor. The impact is instant, catastrophic. He's 24 years old. He's made exactly 3 films. Only one has been released. Donald Turnipseed, the driver of the Ford, walked away with minor injuries. He never spoke publicly about the crash. When reporters found him decades later, he said only, "I think about it every day." Then he closed the door. This is 1955, 7 years before Marilyn will pass. But watch what happens next. The blueprint for the Marilyn Monroe curse is being drawn right here, right now. Hollywood is learning that a gone star frozen in youth is more valuable than a living one who ages. Remember this moment. He should have been a footnote. Instead, something unprecedented happens. His fame explodes after his passing. Fan clubs don't dissolve, they grow. The James Dean Memorial Foundation reports 343 active chapters in 1956. There were 42 while he was alive. Letters addressed to him pour into Warner Brothers. 50,000 letters in the first year alone. Some are addressed. James Dean, Heaven. The post office delivers them to Warner Brothers. This is 7 years before Marilyn will pass. But Dean's posthumous fame is the blueprint. A gone star frozen in youth could be more valuable than a living one who ages. The obsession turns dark quickly. Fans steal pieces of the crash wreckage. The steering wheel goes missing. The rearview mirror. Pieces of chrome, shards of glass, fragments of leather seat. Rumors spread that the wreckage is cursed. George Barris, who owned the wreckage, keeps a file. He documents 7 people who took pieces and later passed in crashes. 7. Threatening letters arrive at Warner Brothers addressed to Elizabeth Taylor. One letter reads, "You took his last breath. You don't deserve to live." Another, "He should have survived. You should have been lost." Girls camp at his grave in Fairmount, Indiana. Park Cemetery calls the police 23 times in the first month after his burial. Some fan club members insist he's not really gone. He faked his passing. A 1957 magazine article claims Dean is living in Mexico. It provides no evidence. Fans believe it anyway. Warner Brothers kept receiving his fan mail into the 1980s. The last letter arrives in 1982 from a woman who was 7 when he passed. She's 34 now. She's been writing to him her entire life. The last confirmed James Dean fan club disbanded in 2003. The president was 78 years old. She'd been writing newsletters about a departed actor for 48 years. When asked why she finally stopped, she said, "I realized I'd spent more of my life loving someone gone than he spent being alive. His funeral is mobbed by fans. 3,000 people attend. The family invited 50. Even now, 70 years later, fans visit the crash site like a shrine. Someone maintains it. Fresh flowers appear every week. No one knows who. Dean's friends later reveal he'd been obsessed with passing young and beautiful. A friend recalls him saying, 2 weeks before the crash, "I want to leave at the peak. I want people to remember me perfectly." He got his wish, but the price was never truly resting. When Marilyn passed 7 years later, Hollywood recognized the pattern Dean had started. The curse was taking shape. Which of these obsessions has shocked you most so far? Comment below and tell us what other Golden Age secrets you want us to uncover. Joan Crawford, the star who became what she feared. If fan obsession could trap James Dean in eternal youth, studio obsession could trap stars in something even worse. And Hollywood would learn to protect the obsessed. Joan Crawford clawed her way from poverty to become one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Over 80 films, an Oscar, an institution, but she was also obsessed with cleanliness, with control, with maintaining her image at any cost. In the 1940s and 50s, Joan adopts 4 children, Christina, Christopher, and twins Kathy and Cindy. Publicly, she's the perfect mother. Life magazine does a 6-page spread titled Joan Crawford, Hollywood's Perfect Mother. The photos are staged. The children are told to smile. Joan's makeup takes 3 hours. Behind closed doors, the reality is horrifyingly different. The most infamous incident. Late at night, Joan wakes Christina to inspect her closet. It's 2:30 in the morning. Christina is sleeping. Joan rips the blankets off. She finds wire hangers mixed with the padded ones. Joan's face twists in rage. She screams, "No wire hangers," over and over while striking Christina with the hanger. The wire cuts into Christina's skin. Christina later describes welts that lasted days. A housekeeper who worked for Joan for 11 years later testified, "I heard everything that night. I was in the next room. I heard Christina crying, begging her to stop. I heard Joan screaming about perfection, about Hollywood, about how Christina was ruining everything. When it finally went quiet, I found Christina sitting on her bedroom floor, just staring at the wall. She wouldn't speak for 2 days. But here's what matters. Joan had watched younger actresses replace older ones. Her last major film role was 1957. She was 52. After that, television, supporting roles, the end of a star career. She was terrified of being forgotten. That terror turned into control. If she couldn't stay young herself, she'd control those who were. Her own children. The Marilyn Monroe curse taught Hollywood to worship youth and beauty above everything. Joan Crawford felt that worship slip away as she aged, and her obsession destroyed her own children. Joan passes in 1977, and her will delivers a final act of control. She specifically disinherits Christina and Christopher. The twins, Kathy and Cindy, each receive $77,000. Christina and Christopher get nothing. In her absence, Joan found one final way to punish them. Christina publishes Mommy Dearest a year later. It becomes an instant bestseller. 2 million copies in the first year. The book shocks the world. But here's what matters. Hollywood has known. Colleagues had seen bruises on the children. Betty Davis later admits, "We all knew. We all heard the stories. We said nothing." MGM had received 3 separate reports from tutors and housekeepers about the children's bruises. Each report was filed in Joan's personnel folder, marked confidential, do not act. The studio's priority was protecting the star, not the children. They said nothing because Joan was a star, an institution. Hollywood's obsession with protecting its own images allowed Crawford's obsession with control to continue unchecked. The obsession had metastasized. It wasn't just studios now, it was families, partners, strangers. And sometimes, the obsession came from someone who'd never even met the star. Someone who would prove that the curse could make you destroy what you claim to worship. But first, You need to understand the most extreme case of all. When a mother's obsession combined with Hollywood's obsession with control, they didn't just destroy a career, they destroyed my mind. Frances Farmer, the star they broke completely, 1936. Frances Farmer is 22 years old and Hollywood's newest sensation. She's brilliant, beautiful, rebellious. She's signed to Paramount. She's starring opposite Bing Crosby. She has everything ahead of her. She also has something Hollywood hates: opinions. Frances speaks openly about politics, questions the studio system, refuses to play the obedient starlet. She tells a reporter, "I don't want to be a product. I'm a person." Paramount doesn't like that. Her mother, Lillian, likes it even less. Lillian Farmer has spent her entire life living through her daughter. She manages Frances's money, controls her contracts, and decides who Frances can see. When Frances tries to establish independence, Lillian says she's being ungrateful. When Frances dates men Lillian disapproves of, Lillian calls them unsuitable. When Frances drinks to cope with the pressure, Lillian calls her an alcoholic. By 1942, Frances is having public breakdowns. She's arrested for intoxicated driving, then for violating probation. The studio uses each incident as proof she's difficult. Lillian uses each incident as proof Frances needs to be controlled. January 19th, 1943. Lillian has Frances committed to Western State Hospital in Washington. Frances is 29 years old. She hasn't been convicted of any crime. She's been declared mentally incompetent, based on her mother's testimony. The hospital records still exist. They're horrifying. Frances is subjected to insulin shock therapy. They inject her with insulin until she convulses and falls into a coma, sometimes 20 times in a single week. A nurse who worked there kept a diary. One entry reads, "Frances screamed every time we came near her with the needles. She knew what was coming. We had to hold her down. She's given electroshock without anesthesia. The voltage is so high, it fractures her spine in 2 places. The fractures are documented in her medical file. No pain medication is provided. Hospital policy. She's put in hydrotherapy, locked in a bathtub filled with ice water for hours at a time." One orderly testified years later, "We were told it would calm the violent ones." Frances wasn't violent. She just kept asking to call her lawyer. And then there are the allegations of inappropriate contact by orderlies and patients. Frances later tells her attorney this happened regularly. The hospital denies it. No investigation occurs. She's considered mentally ill. Her words mean nothing. For 5 years, Frances is imprisoned in psychiatric institutions. She's transferred between facilities. Each time Lillian signs the commitment papers, each time the studio stays silent. Paramount drops her contract in 1943. No statement, no support. She just disappears from their roster. In 1948, rumors circulate that Frances received a transorbital lobotomy, an ice pick inserted through the eye socket into the brain. Her medical records from this period are mysteriously lost. The hospital claims they were destroyed in a flood. The flood happened 10 years after the alleged procedure. Frances always denied having a lobotomy. But something happened to her in those institutions. The woman who comes out in 1950 is not the same person who went in. She's released in 1950, aged 36. She tries to resume acting, but the damage is visible. She can't remember lines. She has tremors. One director who worked with her in summer stock says, "It was like watching a ghost." She'd forget where she was mid-scene. Sometimes she'd just stop talking and stare at nothing. Frances Farmer passed on August 1st, 1970. She's 56 years old. She's working as a clerk at a hotel in Indianapolis, making minimum wage. She's alone. She has $37 in her bank account. The autopsy reveals esophageal cancer. She'd been sick for months, but couldn't afford treatment. No former colleagues visit her in the hospital. No studio sends flowers. The woman who once starred opposite Cary Grant passes alone in a charity ward. Her mother outlives her by 3 years. Lillian never expresses remorse. When asked about institutionalization, she says, "I did what was necessary." She was out of control. But here's what matters. Hollywood let it happen. Paramount knew where Frances was. They could have intervened. They chose profit over protection. Easier to replace her than fight for her. One executive later admitted, she wasn't worth the trouble. There were 100 girls who'd take her parts without questioning anything. Frances Farmer's story shows the ultimate extreme of obsession. When a mother's need for control combines with an industry's need for compliance, they don't just end careers, they end their minds. They break people so completely that even if they survive, they never really come back. The Marilyn Monroe curse taught Hollywood that gone stars are valuable. But Frances Farmer proved something even darker. Destroyed stars are cheaper than rebellious ones. Break them completely and they can't fight back, can't speak up, can't warn others. Frances tried to be a person instead of a product. Hollywood and her own mother made sure she'd never be either again. And nobody stopped them. Nobody even tried. Sharon Tate, when Hollywood itself became the target just after midnight. August 9th, 1969. 10050 Cielo Drive. Sharon Tate is 8.5 months pregnant, decorating the nursery. She's hung a mobile of silver stars above the crib. The paint smell still lingers. She'd finished the pale blue walls just 2 days earlier. Tiny clothes are folded in the dresser. Miniature socks, impossibly small onesies, a yellow knit hat. A rocking chair sits in the corner, the one her mother gave her. Sheet music for lullabies rests on the nightstand. She'd been practicing. The room is perfect. Ready, waiting. Sharon had spent the afternoon arranging baby books on a small shelf. Dr. Seuss, Mother Goose. She'd written the baby's name inside each one. Paul Richard Polanski. She wanted everything to be ready. Her husband, Roman Polanski, was in London working on a film. I'll be fine, she told him on their last phone call. The baby and I will be waiting when you get back. That call happened 36 hours before she passed. She's showing friends the tiny clothes, talking about the baby. In 3 weeks, she'll be a mother. In 3 hours, she'll be gone. 4 friends are with her tonight. Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Stephen Parent. Sharon is showing them baby photos. She's laughing. She has no idea what's coming. Jay Sebring, Sharon's former boyfriend and close friend, had brought a small stuffed bear for the baby. It was still in its wrapping on the nursery dresser. Abigail Folger had been staying at the house while Roman was away. She didn't want Sharon to be alone. That afternoon, Sharon had called her mother. The call lasted 42 minutes. Phone records still exist. Her mother later said, she was so happy. She kept saying the baby was kicking. She said she could feel him responding to her voice. Sharon had asked about childbirth, about what it felt like. I can't wait to meet him, she said. 8 hours later, her mother would identify her body. 4 members of the Manson family enter the property just after midnight. Charles Manson has become obsessed with Hollywood, not its stars, but what the industry represents. Success he's been denied. The obsession's origins are documented. Manson had tried to break into the music industry through Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. Wilson paid for studio time for Manson to record demos. The demos still exist. They're haunting. Manson could actually sing. But it fell apart. Terry Melcher, who produced records for the Byrds, said, he's talented, but he's too strange. He scares me. The Beach Boys recorded one of his songs, but didn't credit him. When Manson found out, he confronted Wilson at his home. Security had to remove him. Each rejection fed his rage. He began to see Hollywood as a conspiracy against him. He then focused on Terry Melcher, a music producer who lived at 10050 Cielo Drive. Melcher later testified, he came to my house 3 times. Each time he was more aggressive. The 3rd time, I had to tell him to leave and never come back. On the first visit, Manson was polite, wanting to audition. The second, he was pushy. The third, there was rage in his eyes. By early 1969, Melcher had moved out, and Sharon Tate had moved in. Manson knew Melcher had moved. He'd driven by the property multiple times. He sent his followers to that address anyway. But the attacks are about more than revenge. Manson's ideology, called helter-skelter, requires starting a race war. Sharon isn't chosen for who she is. She's chosen for what her address represents. She's chosen because she lives in a house a famous person used to live in. That's all. She's harmed because of an address. One of Manson's followers later testified, "Charlie said it didn't matter who was inside. He said they represented the establishment." Sharon Tate was 8.5 months pregnant, preparing to be a mother. And to Charles Manson, she was nothing more than a symbol to destroy. Sharon begs for her unborn baby's life. According to Susan Atkins, Sharon's last words are, "Please let me have my baby." Atkins testifies, "She was crying. She said it over and over. Please, please, my baby, my baby." We didn't care. The attack is horrific. Sharon is stabbed 16 times. The coroner's report notes several wounds were inflicted after life had ceased. The medical examiner would later testify, the baby was full-term and healthy. He would have survived if delivered immediately. But there was no chance. Charles Manson never shows remorse. When asked about Sharon Tate, he says, "She meant nothing. She was just there." To Manson, Sharon wasn't a 26-year-old woman about to become a mother. She was a symbol. And symbols can be destroyed without guilt. Roman Polanski learned of his wife's passing while in London. When he arrived at Cielo Drive, police were still processing the scene. They wouldn't let him inside. He could see the front door from the street. He later described that moment. "I wanted to see her. They wouldn't let me. I stood there and I couldn't breathe. My wife, my son, gone. And I wasn't there to protect them." The house was listed for sale 6 months later. The realtor had to hire a specialist cleaning crew. They worked for 3 days. The realtor said potential buyers would walk to the nursery doorway, see the mobile still hanging, and start crying. The house stayed empty for 2 years. In 1994, the house was completely demolished. The new owner said, "You can't live in a place where that much tragedy happened." Even the address was changed. 10050 Cielo Drive no longer exists. The Tate tragedy ends the 1960s dream. They proved that obsession with Hollywood itself, as a symbol of exclusivity and success, can turn devastating. Paul Richard Polanski would have been born August 20th, 1969. He never took a breath. The mobile of silver stars that Sharon hung still exists. Roman kept it. He could never bring himself to look at it, but he could never bring himself to throw it away either. Sharon Tate's tragedy shows the most extreme form of obsession, but other stars are destroyed by subtler forces. Hollywood's obsession with symbols over substance. And sometimes, being a symbol is a sentence that takes years instead of hours. Dorothy Dandridge, The Barrier. Hollywood wouldn't break the Academy Awards ceremony. 1954. Dorothy Dandridge walks onto the stage as the first black woman ever nominated for Best Actress. She's wearing a white gown. White, a deliberate choice. She should be the beginning of a new era. Instead, she becomes proof of how the Marilyn Monroe curse doesn't discriminate. Hollywood becomes obsessed with Dorothy as a symbol, proof that the industry isn't prejudiced. But they won't actually give her roles. Magazine covers call her Hollywood's Black Pearl, as if that's a compliment, as if being reduced to her race is an honor. After the Oscar nomination, Dorothy waits for offers. The offers that come are for stereotypical parts. When she demands better, she's labeled difficult. 1956. Dorothy sits across from a studio executive for what should be her breakthrough role. He pushes a script across the desk. The script is titled Island Woman. She opens it. Act 1. Native girl emerges from the jungle, drums beating. She reads further. Her character has no name, just native girl. "I didn't break barriers to play stereotypes," she says. The executive leans back. "You people should be grateful for any work. There aren't exactly a lot of roles for colored actresses." He says colored with disdain. Dorothy stands up. "Then I'll wait until there is." She walks out. She never works for that studio again. Within a month, 3 other studios declined to meet with her. No explanation, just not at this time. Her personal life collapses. She enters harmful relationships. One boyfriend breaks her jaw. She tells people she fell. Her manager mismanages her money. He invests her money in a nightclub that goes bankrupt. She loses everything. And she has a daughter, Marilyn, born with severe brain damage. The care costs $3,000 per month. Dorothy is broke. She visits anyway. Marilyn doesn't recognize her. Every visit, Dorothy has to introduce herself to her own daughter. September 8th, 1965. Dorothy Dandridge is found in her apartment in West Hollywood. Her landlord discovers her. She's lying on the bathroom floor in a blue bathrobe. She's 42 years old. The coroner can't determine if it's accidental or intentional. The empty pill bottle is beside her. The bottle should still be half full. The coroner noted something unusual. Dorothy's bathroom mirror had lipstick writing on it. 2 words, "I tried." The lipstick was her signature shade, a deep red she wore in Carmen Jones, the role that got her the Oscar nomination. Nobody knows if she wrote it that night or if it had been there for weeks. A daily reminder staring back at her every morning. The landlord said when he found her, her hand was near the mirror, fingertips touching the glass, as if she'd been reading those words one last time. He cleaned the mirror before her family arrived. He said he didn't want them to see it, but maybe she wanted them to see it. Maybe those 2 words were the only testimony she could leave. I tried. I tried to break barriers, tried to change an industry, tried to be seen as human, not just a symbol. She'd tried, and Hollywood had let her fail anyway. She's broke. Her bank account has $8.14. She'd once made $3,000 per week. She's forgotten. Her films haven't been re-released. Her image doesn't become more valuable. She just disappears. The day Dorothy's passing was announced, 3 major newspapers ran the story on page 11. Below an advertisement for vacuum cleaners, the woman who broke barriers was reported on page 11. Sidney Poitier, the only other major black star at the time, tried to organize a memorial. 3 studios declined to donate. One executive told him, "It's not good for business to make a fuss." Sidney paid for the funeral himself. Hollywood's obsession with being seen as progressive trapped Dorothy in a role, first black actress, that gave her symbolic value but no actual support. They got their headlines, their proof of progressiveness, and then they left her to pass alone on the bathroom floor. Dorothy Dandridge was destroyed by what Hollywood refused to give her. But one star would face something different, an obsession born from pure admiration that would haunt her forever. Unlike all the others, she would find a way to survive. Her secret? Something Hollywood never wanted anyone to learn, something that could break the curse itself. Jean Tierney, the fan whose obsession lasted forever. Jean Tierney is one of Hollywood's most beautiful leading ladies in 1943. She's been on the cover of Life magazine. She's 23 years old and Hollywood's newest star. She's pregnant with her first child. Her doctors give her explicit warnings. Avoid crowds, avoid anyone sick. Rubella during pregnancy causes catastrophic birth defects. The only protection is avoidance. But Jean is a star, and it's wartime. The studio wants her at military base appearances. The studio tells her, "Our boys need to see American beauty. You represent what they're fighting for." She goes, appearing at several military bases and the Hollywood canteen. Shortly after, Jean develops rubella. First, a fever, then the rash, then the certainty that everything has gone wrong. In October 1943, she gave birth to a daughter, Daria. The baby is born with severe disabilities. Profoundly deaf, blind, severely intellectually impaired, and with a serious heart condition. Daria will never speak, never see her mother's face, never understand who her mother is. Jean is devastated. She goes through the appearances in her mind. Which handshake? Which autograph? Which smiling soldier gave her the virus that destroyed her child? Months pass. Jean is at a tennis party. A young woman approaches her, gushing with excitement. She's blonde, young, probably 20. She's bouncing with enthusiasm. The woman says, documented through Jean's own autobiography, "Oh, Miss Tierney, I'm your biggest fan. I had German measles, and my doctor said I couldn't leave the house, but I just couldn't miss meeting you. It was worth it." Jean's blood runs cold. She can hear her own heartbeat. She can feel sweat on her palms. This fan knowingly exposed her while contagious. She'd seen Jean's pregnancy announced in the papers. Everyone knew. And this woman broke the quarantine anyway. According to Jean's accounts, she doesn't confront the woman. She goes to the bathroom. She vomits. She stays there for 20 minutes, shaking. What she actually wanted to do was much worse. She wanted to destroy the woman the way the woman destroyed Daria. But Jean was civilized. She walked away. Jean's co-star that day noticed she'd changed. She kept touching her own face, checking her reflection. She left the party without saying goodbye. Her driver later testified, "Miss Tierney sat completely silent the entire ride home. When we arrived, she didn't move. I had to ask 3 times if she was all right. She finally looked at me and said, 'I ended my baby by being famous.' Then she got out of the car. The studio sent a memo the next day. Jean appears distressed. Recommend 2-week delay on publicity tour." They didn't ask why. They didn't want to know. They just wanted her functional again. Jean spends the next 2 decades caring for Daria in institutions, visiting regularly. She visits every Sunday, every single Sunday for 20 years. Daria never knows who she is. She suffers multiple mental breakdowns, receives electroshock therapy, and is hospitalized several times. 1957, hospitalized for 6 months. 1958, another 3 months. But here's where Jean's story differs. She survives. She eventually recovers, remarries to Texas oil executive Howard Lee in 1960, and finds peace. Howard pays for Daria's care, but he understands Jean needs to make those visits alone. Daria never recovers. She passed in 2010 at 66 years old, having spent her entire life with severe disabilities. Jean passed in 1991. She never stopped paying for Daria's care. Even in her will, money is set aside, but Jean finds a way to forgive. Years later, she says of the fan, "She was young and obsessed. She didn't understand the consequences. I can't carry that anger forever." She says this in 1978, 35 years after it happened. 35 years, and she's still working on forgiveness. This is the antidote to the curse. Recognizing obsession, naming its harm, choosing not to let it consume you. She survives because she forgives. Not forgets, forgives. These 12 obsessions reveal the dark side of Golden Age Hollywood. If this documentary opened your eyes to the price of fame, please like and share so others can learn these hidden truths. The curse lives on 12 stars. 12 obsessions. One terrifying truth: it never stopped. The curse didn't end with Jean Tierney's forgiveness. It evolved. A pop star crushed against barriers by fans who loved her. A princess fleeing photographers, her last moments sold for millions. Blood on the lens, profit and loss. And now, social media. 10,000 judgments per minute. A 17-year-old starving herself after 45,000 comments about her weight on a single photo. The Marilyn Monroe curse isn't about ghosts. It's about what Hollywood learned the night she passed. Gone stars are more profitable than living ones. They can't age, can't say no, can't have messy lives. They're frozen forever. Perfect, tragic, and endlessly marketable. Bobby Driscoll proved it first. James Dean perfected it. Jean Harlow passed for it while cameras kept rolling. Montgomery Clift destroyed himself pursuing it. It erased Rita Hayworth, broke Frances Farmer's mind, took Sharon Tate, tokenized Dorothy Dandridge. The pattern is simple. We obsess over beauty instead of humanity. We worship the image, not the person. We refuse to let them age, change, or rest. And we destroy them. Every single time. Are we still doing it? Every comment about their weight, every demand for perfection, every breakdown turned into a meme. Every time we say, they asked for this, when they asked for a career, not surveillance. Every time we forget, they're human. In 2024, an actress, 26 years old, the same age Sharon Tate passed, deleted everything after threatening messages for gaining 15 pounds postpartum. Her statement, "I thought fame meant success. It means I'm not allowed to be human anymore." But Jean Tierney found the antidote. She chose forgiveness over obsession. She broke the pattern by seeing her tormentor as human, flawed, young, mistaken. Not evil, humans. That's how you break a curtain. See the person behind the image. Love them enough to let them be imperfect, aging, changing, making mistakes, living. Until we do, the curse continues. More bathroom floors, more empty pill bottles, more gods we worship to the end. Jean Tierney chose healing over hatred, life over loss, freedom over the curse. Can we? If you found these hidden truths fascinating, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next deep exploration into Golden Age Hollywood. What secrets should we uncover next? Let us know in the comments below. This is Golden Age Files, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.